the Tigers, Dave Woloshin.
What a day. We got pro and college sports colliding. The PGA Tour's got a plan for the championship. Bad health news for NFL players, that is for sure. The U.S. Open is starting for tennis in New York City. We got that all covered. Steve Earhart makes his debut. That comes your way in about 8 minutes. And we will talk about all of this crazy stuff going on with players who are pros that haven't made it, getting an extra year, suing to do it, getting favorable courts in their states. Crazy stuff. We just learned about a brand new plan the PGA Tour has. Brian Rolap has released that plan. I'll go over that in a second, but I got to start with the news. And if you love football, this is very, very troubling. They did a study, and the only way you can tell if a person has CTE, which is basically brain damage, you can suspect it because most of the time a symptom of CTE is a form of dementia. This is, I don't believe, is Alzheimer's. It's a form of dementia. And keep in mind, there are different kinds of dementia. You can get dementia from Parkinson's. You can obviously get it from Alzheimer's. And you can get this from CTE, which is basically from collisions to the skull, rattling the brain. That's simple. The only way you can tell if you've had CTE is by autopsy after you have died. The minimum statistic, they figure it's a lot more, but they did this study and they've published these results. 25% of NFL players die with CTE. They think that's really low. So what do you do to change things? Well, here are some of the recommendations I heard. One would be no hitting at practice. So in other words, the collisions would all happen during the games. I think you would have to probably, if we're going to be honest about that, temper it, where maybe the beginning of the year in practice to establish who can hit and who cannot, and to get your body ready for the kind of collisions.
What about that helmet?
Well, they may, the halo things.
Yeah,
they may have
full
to do
time.
And they may have to do that.
I know it's not sexy, but yeah.
they have to come up with some sort of technology. You can't keep doing this. So no hitting at practice would be one, and that's probably a good thing, especially after you leave camp or whatever. You've established the pecking order, and you do it that way. The second thing is no youth tackle football. And personally, I think that's okay. Play flag football. Get used to some fundamentals. When you get to high school, you learn how to play the game. It may retard the development till later in your life. So you may not be as good when you enter college as you would have been if you'd been playing since you're 12 or 13. But the chances of you developing CTE from the constant collisions over years and years and years goes down. To me, that's a good trade-off. I don't know what'll happen. Most of the time, nothing happens. But to me, that would be a good deal. Okay, Brian Rolap has come up with the plan. We were talking about this yesterday. You're going to get your regular tour, and you're going to have a championship of the regular tour, and you're going to name all your people, and the top 90 out of the 120 keep their PGA Tour card on the championship tour for the next year. The 30 that don't are relegated down. The top 30 on the Challenger Tour, track 2, move up. Now, for the championship, we're going to have only 32, and it's only going to be 2 weeks, and it's going to be match play. The first week, and they're going to rotate the courses. It's only going to be 2, and they're going to rotate them every year. It's going to be a different course. They'll do West Coast because it's prime time. They got places, the East Coast they want to do that are major venues. Brian Rolap said it's not going to be all about big markets. They're going to mix in smaller markets too. I guess if the golf course is worthy. They're going to have 32 groups. That is 8 groups of 4. They will have match play within that pool. The first 36, 72 holes. In other words, 4 days, first venue, 8 groups of 4, 32 players. You play 3 matches within that. The top 2 guys advance to the next week. And the next week is total 16 to 8, 8 to 4, 4 to 2, and the championship. And that's how they're going to do it. And they'll reward all the people for the regular season with those bonuses, and there will be a pot of cash for the championship that will be separate from what the regular tour was. Makes sense to me. I think it's got a chance to work. And we're about to get into this with Steve Earhart, and later with Ron Higgins, too. But the news, and LSU is in the news on both ends, to be honest. The news is Daquan Wright, the tight end, the defensive lineman, Xavier Harris, they all want to get back to college because they can make more money in college, even though they made teams in the NFL. Wright apparently has been waived. He's waiting to see if he clears waivers all the way around. He would become Lane Kiffin's guy. The SEC made a statement it wasn't totally barring players from coming back, but they didn't want pro players to come back. The Big Ten has said pro players aren't coming back. The ACC is about to say pro players aren't coming back. LSU also in the news with R.J. Lewis, former Big East Player of the Year, who signed multiple NBA contracts. Played in the G League last year. I don't know if he played in I'm a little unsure of whether he really played in games or just exhibition games. But he's signed to come back, making a lot more money with Will Wade at LSU than he would if he played in the G League, where if you're not a two-way guy, what do you make? $48,000, something like that. Collision between pro and college. And the colleges are going, no, if they signed a pro contract, they're pro. That's what the Big Ten is saying. That's what the ACC is trying to say. That's what the SEC is implying. I think the NCAA, which, by the way, is the schools themselves. You can't say the schools are not at fault. It's the NCAA. The schools are the NCAA. They vote on the rules. I think LSU is at fault here. LSU's going, you know what? I don't care what the commissioner is saying. If other guys are going to take those players, I want them.
It pretty much sums up what Lane said in his press conference.
Here's what I want to ask. What if it's the Charles DiBiaco, was that his name, that went to Alabama last year and played in like 5 games before because he went through the courts, got a friendly judge, then it was overturned at a higher level even in that state, and they rescinded that and he couldn't play. Played 5 games and that was it.
Correct.
What happens here if Daquan Wright, after 2 games, is told, you can't play? You cut the tight end that you were, third down the row. He's out of a job. High school prospect you were thinking about, he's out of a job. Oh, wait, now he can't play?
Because technically he's a free agent once the season is, right? The college season. He's a free agent, right?
Oh, yeah, he can go back.
Yeah,
he can go back. You know what? I don't know how the NFL will work that because he probably has his rights are with the Cleveland Browns, but they waived him. They waived him. You know what? I don't know. I guess he goes right back in the draft. But I don't think he was drafted, right? He was just a camp guy. Yeah, he was undrafted. Some people think that's where that's where you cut it off. If you're drafted, no chance. If you're not drafted, then you should be able to come back. But not if you've signed a deal. This guy, Lewis, in the NBA, he signed multiple NBA deals. And now he's coming back? Of course, there's nobody getting cut on the LSU basketball team. They got like 4 guys on the roster.
And Wright was not drafted. You're correct.
But he signed a deal. He was in camp in a uniform in a preseason game, although he didn't play in the preseason game. I don't know where the distinctions come. but this sense of if you've given up your college career to become a pro, you've taken that opportunity or that chance, however you want to define it, you made that decision. Oh, wait, it didn't work out. I'm going to go back. To me, that's ridiculous. And I get this point of view where people think, well, you just can't make a date, and that's the finite date. That they made the mistake. They should have included this 22 class. To me, I understand that reasoning, but I think an entity has a right to say, okay, we're changing the rules, but here's where we're starting. They have the right to make the starting time.
You're absolutely right. They do.
And now all these people are going, no, you don't have the right. We think we should choose. By their logic, let's go back and get Keith Lee his fifth year. I mean, come on. What? Crazy. Anyway, that's my sense of it all. We'll hear from Steve Earhart and Ron Higgins on this. In our last segment, we'll go to New York City and the U.S. Open. And Chuck Melkent, our guy who's analyzed the slams for years, will be with us as I sit here in the Family Leisure Studios. I remind you, the dog days of summer still going on. They will go on until probably we get a Labor Day sale, and we'll get a Labor Day sale. But right now, and I gotta go see those folks. I need some chemicals. Best chemicals, you can always trust them. Where? Family Leisure. Right now, you can get a swimming pool to use those chemicals for under $2,000. I've never seen the price lower. Patio furniture is now up to 50% off. Free theater seating with the purchase of any in-stock hot tub. That's the theater seat. I mean, this is big-time stuff. The dog days this summer are happening at Family Leisure. So we begin our football coverage in earnest this week because we're bringing in the big dog for the Big Cheese, the head honcho of the AutoZone Liberty Bowl. That would be Steve Earhart. What do you think about all this craziness with pro players coming back to college?
Well, Dave, you said it exactly right. A collision of cycle, and it's amazing when you think back 100 years ago when the development of really big-time athletics, when you had Barnstormers to go around. Didn't Red Grange go play a bunch of places? He'd play for the Chicago Bears one day and then play for a college team. Some of your history buffs need to look up the kind of thing. But you're right. There's a blend now between colleges and the pros, and the fiction of is really this just about the student athlete. Remember 30 years ago when Walter Byers said you can never refer to anything other than a student athlete, and the evolution of how colleges treat the situation. You hit it perfectly there, because the universities at the highest level have made a decision that having a big time, whether it's football or basketball program, is a positive benefit for an overall university. It attracts student application. The students like to go to the games. It attracts contributions to the university. So certain universities have made a decision that it's more important to have a winning team to be, the front porch, as they always like to say, of that university. Other universities made a different decision. Look at the service academies, look at the Ivy League, and they make decisions on who gets into their university and then whether they play sports after they're admitted in the university. And that's exactly what you made the point, too, of if the SEC says, okay, we're not going to allow a professional athlete, when we say professional, I shouldn't even say that. It's somebody who signed a professional contract. They're all professional athletes. If somebody who signed a contract in a professional league cannot come back and be a student at our university and play. And then that's what the collision there with the court system, because the court system says if you're a public university, you can become a student regardless of what age or what year you graduated, and then can they allow you to play on a sports team inside that league. And I asked Tony Barnhart the question yesterday, do any of the presidents in the big-time universities have the guts to say, this is what we're going to allow our quote students, not whether it's a student athlete, if you're a student at the university. And then you get the blurring of the line. What is a student at the university with these players that have maybe already graduated? Are they really taking courses? Are they really getting these phony kind of internships that you mentioned?
At South Carolina, they're blatant about it. They're not trying to hide anything. They're going, Lenora Sellers already got his degree, I guess, and you know what? He's not taking classes, but he's doing an internship at a driving range.
Right. So the decision's got to be made at the university level. You hit it right on the head. The NCAA is the universities, and right now the big-time universities control the rulemaking at the highest level, and that's where there's a strain between Division II and Division III. And shout out to Rhodes College. Rhodes College has an excellent athletic program. Their students, they enjoy and play sports. Some of them have scholarships because the university feels it's important to give scholarships, whether you're a journalism major or you're a physical education major, that it's important to have a cross section. So the decisions have got to be made at the university administration level, whether that's a board of trustees, whether it's the presidents in combination with the athletic directors. And right now, the Power Four guys say they're hell-bent to say, we want to win. That's more important than winning on the field than anything else. So as long as you have an LSU who's out there who's got maybe the biggest payroll, I've heard that they've exceeded Ohio State's payroll, which is unbelievable. And they say,
it's
okay,
in the mid-40s.
And their president, their governor, and everybody at that public university says, hey, it's more important for us to build a winning program, and that benefits the university more than anything else. So we've got that, as you said, collision is the right word. And I think there's going to be a winnowing out, and there already has been over the last 100 years of, Division III, Division II, the service academies. And so what we're going to have is, and I said, you might as well just subcontract out. We kidded about it last year when the UFL was here, and, they had players who had just recently finished their college eligibility or had a cup of coffee in the NFL and maybe got cut, and they were a little bit older. Probably the average age was 23, 24 instead of 20, 21. Subcontracted out, said, okay, we're just going to subcontract out, hire a professional football team. They're going to put the name of the university on the back and play and win games. So, and trying to walk that fine line of keeping your alumni happy, your donors happy, but for sure right now at the Power Four level and even at the G6, University of Memphis has made a commitment to say, okay, our athletic program is very important to us, and I don't blame them for that. It's the most attention they get.
No, they just got a court case involving their best baseball player, Freddie Rodriguez, to come back. So they're in this too. Right. This is interesting. Pete Thamel, I mentioned earlier, Pete Thamel is reporting the Big Ten is definitely stopping anybody who declared for the NFL draft. They are not allowed to come back. So a guy like Harris or Wright would not be allowed to go to a Big Ten team. I think the ACC is about to follow suit. It's interesting because the SEC did not make a firm commitment to that when they addressed this, but Sankey was pretty clear that he didn't want this to happen.
Yeah.
And if you listen to Lane Kiffin goes, these are the rules, baby. I'm doing it. I don't care. I'm doing it because somebody else is going to if I don't.
Okay. Well, I'll make a prediction that today, and I don't have any inside information, I'm just thinking that the SEC will come out and join with the Big Ten and say that if you've signed a professional contract, again, that's almost an oxymoron here, but if you've gone outside, you can't come back. So I think the SEC, and that will put LSU versus the SEC, and then there probably could be litigation.
Well, you're a lawyer. Okay, so let me ask you this. What happens? Because they've already, I guess they can't really sign Daquan Wright until he clears waivers. So I don't know that he's originally signed so he could be grandfathered in. What's going to happen with Wright? What's going to happen with Harris? What's going to happen with this guy, R.J. Lewis?
Well, my prediction is that when the league makes a decision, that's got to bind, their fellow members. And so it could cause a legal suit between if LSU, they're a little bit renegades, they're certainly a great university in a lot of respects, but they've made a hell of a commitment to do whatever it takes to have a winning team, whether it's Lane Kiffin is paying money out and their governor and all their donors are the same way. So, but I think if they're going to choose to be a member of the SEC, then if they start litigating, and I think it's a little akin to what happened in the Big 12. Remember when Texas Tech signed the kid Sorsby from Cincinnati who had been barred, and then they originally sued and said, well,
Well,
okay,
that was
we
gambling.
don't care.
That was a gambling.
I know it's
issue.
gambling, but it was the same issue of eligibility of a player. And remember, the Big 12 said, no, we're not. Our rules say you can't play. Texas Tech said, no, we're going to fight you. But then the Big 12, I guess they prevailed. So I think the same thing. You're right. It was gambling, but it was the issue of, are we as a conference going to enforce the rules? So I think if the SEC comes out and says we're going to enforce the rule on this issue of eligibility from professional contract, then I think they will prevail. And again, my own prediction when you asked about a legal thing is that LSU will end up backing out and those players will not play for LSU. But that's just my own personal opinion. And courts go either way, and universities can go different ways. But I think the future of the conferences, they have to be able to enforce the rule, just like say on the gambling issue. Remember, everybody said, well, Texas Tech said, oh, we think he's okay, but the league, they had to prevail and they backed off. So that's my prediction.
Right. Yeah. I think if I recall correctly, their first rationale was, wait a second, it's a sickness. We're going to get him better.
Yeah.
He can still play. We're going to get him better.
Yeah. Right.
The other aspect to me is, what if it's overturned like the Bediako case in basketball last year with the Alabama player?
Yeah.
Guy who played in the G League. He was not a drafted guy. I don't know if that should be the distinction or not, but I think if you make a decision you're leaving college to go pro, that's your decision. And if it doesn't work out, you shouldn't have this recourse to come back, because you're affecting other players on the team who's now have an opportunity to play. That's just my sense of it. I'm sure you can make arguments the other way for that, but I don't know what happens if other courts overturn it. Then they can't play anyway.
Well, but I think the conferences do have, just like I know it's a different situation, but the courts did figure out that in the Big 12 situation that the conference had the right to make rules for play among public universities. So I think the same thing will prevail here. If the conference comes out and says this is our rule, then I think that LSU will have to abide by that. Now, LSU may want to sue them, but I think the conference has the ability to say, hey, if you want to play under our conference rules, here's the rules. Mm-hmm. So that's again, I think that'll work its way out. But it's a panic right now around everybody. Coaches are all figured out, okay, are they going to let them get away? But I think the SEC will come out today. That's my own prediction, and then smooth this out a little bit. But it's not going to be smooth with the NIL and the amount of money. And you can say, and everybody wanted to run to Congress to solve all the problems. But universities still have to make a decision. Who are we? What are we? What are we going to allow? What can our students do? And you saw the softening, what you just said, David, about the South Carolina young man. Is he really a student? But, being an intern somewhere, but we're going to allow him to play. So that's something the university presidents and their boards have to look into.
All right, last thing, real quick. You've been around football for 60, 65 years.
That's it. You're actually right about that.
I know that. And we see now this new study, 25%, and that's a minimum of NFL players end up with CTE. Some of the solutions are to no hitting at practice, no tackle football for youth. Give me your sense as a guy who is still in the business of football. What do you think you have to do? Because to me, you see these results, you got to change something. In my mind, you got to change something, whether that's equipment with the helmet or whether you don't hit after camp. Because you got to establish who can hit and who can't and get your body ready for it. No youth tackle football. I mean, that's an interesting concept. That would be less collisions early that where you might start the CTE damage. Give me your sense of it.
Well, I believe, and you're right, the 60 years wouldn't. I think there's already been significant enough changes that this generation will not have what happened 2 generations ago. And in my day, of course, and I know you've kidded me, but I did have the Sonny Jurgensen, the single double bar, but the helmet, if you look at the helmet from 50 years ago and compare it to a helmet now, it's unbelievably different. And in my day too, we were said, tackle, put your head right in the middle of his chest. so you don't slide off. I remember the coaches saying, "Put your head right in on the numbers." Nowadays, you teach how to tackle differently. You've got a totally different headgear, which, I mean, I've got these headgear from just last year. I mean, you got to see some of these, helmets. They're so much better, and the protection, all the tests that they've done with the pile drivers, all the testing. So the impact on the head is not nearly what it is. So I believe they made significant progress. I think youth today, they don't teach that, and there is less, pounding. And I think that the older guys that are now suffering from that, it's what happened to them 30, 40 years ago, the people that are in their 50s, 60s, 70s now. But now a young player now who came up youth leagues and then high school and college ball now, I don't think you'll find that much, and that's what some of the experts are saying. So it's not just my opinion, but I think the wave, unfortunately for our generation, we missed it, but now I think the corrections have been made, and football is safer than it's ever been.
I hope you're right. Thank you, my friend. We'll talk next Tuesday.
Thank you, David.
That is Steve Earhart from the AutoZone Liberty Bowl on college and now pro football. Crazy collision, as I said. We're taking a break. When we come back, we're going to go where a lot of this news has been made, to Baton Rouge, LSU, and Lane Kiffin and Will Wade, all front and center in all of this. We'll get Ron Higgins' take in just a minute.
Did you miss your favorite Sports 56 show? No! Check out the podcast, broken down hourly at sports56whbq.com or wherever you get your podcasts. Be sure to like and subscribe. Never miss any Sports 56 show again with our podcasts available daily from Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Is your wife asking you to stop eating junk food? Well, we have you covered at Humdinger's. It's quick and it's healthy, and most important, it tastes amazing. With many choices from salmon salad to rainbow trout and grilled asparagus. Come visit us for lunch at Humdinger's, 6300 Poplar Avenue. So good, Coach Penny eats with us weekly. Don't forget, Humdinger's offers full-service catering for weddings, social events, or your corporate lunches. You can call 901-260-8292 to find out more.
K4T 349,980, MSRP 24,825, Celtos V501936, MSRP 27,130, Sorrento TG 455,570, MSRP 34,280, Telluride VGO 42,843, MSRP 44,420, EV9 TG 007645, includes all rebates and incentives, PF 895, must finance through KFA, excludes tax title and license with approved credit, dealer stock only, see dealer for complete details, offer valid through 8/31/26.
I've got Jeff Allen on the line. Gossett, Kia South, Mount Moriah. Let's cut to the chase. What do you got for us?
Hey, Randy, you ready to make memories with your new ride? 2026 Kia K4 LXS, $229 a month, $34.99 due at signing. 2027 Kia Seltos LX, $258 a month, $37.99 due at signing. 2026 Kia Sorrento LX, $327 a month, and a 2027 Kia Telluride S, $449 a month, 24-month lease, $39.99 due at signing. And the all-new 2026 EV9 Land all-wheel drive, $12,000 off MSRP, or get 0% for 60 months.
All equipped with Kia's 10-year, 100,000-mile powertrain limited warranty.
So whether you live in Horn Lake, South Haven, Olive Branch, or Memphis, you'll be happy at Gossett Kia on Mount Moriah.
Chris Price here with Metro Builders. The Mid-South just got hammered with heavy rains and heavy winds, leaving more than 130,000 people without power and plenty of homes with storm damage. Most damage goes unnoticed. Since the storm moved through, our Metro Builders crews have been out tarping roofs, stopping leaks, and helping property owners protect their homes from further damage. The hidden damage is the toughest, with small leaks putting water into attics that could turn into ceiling stains and, even worse, mold. For nearly 30 years, storm restoration has been what we do. We've completed thousands of roof repairs and restoration projects, and we know what to look for after a storm like this. Missing shingles, limbs on the roof, ceiling stains, or water getting inside? Don't wait for the next rain to find out how bad it is. Don't let them tell you your roof needs to be replaced when all it may need is a repair. We'll measure your roof from outer space and provide on-site estimates with options while on-site. We'll inspect it, document the damage, explain your options, and help you get your property documented and protected. Call me. 901-375-1717. That's 901-375-1717. Or schedule online today at metrobuildersmemphis.com.
Memphis, your Saturday mornings are about to get a little spicier. Get heaping helpings of SEC sports with the Back Porch right here on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM starting at 10 a.m. Back Porch features experts interviewing big-name guests, discussing big-time topics, and chopping up all things Southeastern Conference. You'll get plenty of facts, opinions, and perspective, all of it about the SEC. The Back Porch, Saturday mornings from 10 to 11 right here on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Now back to Wolo and Friends on Sports 56. Here once again is the voice of the Tigers, Dave Woloshin.
Welcome in. We're going to Baton Rouge. Our SEC historian Ron Higgins standing by is brought to you by one of his favorite places. I watched him throw a club or two at Miramichi. He's gotten better with that. He used to be whirlwind in a tree. I think he lost a club in a tree one time. That might have cured his wildness, but he still has a love for the game, and he's got a love for Miramichi, and who wouldn't? It's beautiful. Go back 7,400 yards, go up to 5,000 yards. You've got it. You got beauty all over the place. I was there Sunday. Waterfall was going. The stream was meandering all through the back nine. It was absolutely pretty, and as always, it's a tough test of golf. We went to watch the end of the BMW in the clubhouse. I got all kinds of TVs with great food and beverage. It's the total golf experience, and I remind you, it's not in Millington. It's in Woodstock. That's literally 25 minutes from my driveway in East Memphis, and it is about 10 to 12 minutes from Mud Island downtown. Go check it out. You can thank me later. Ron Higgins, I remember those days well of playing with you. How is your golf game with those new hips?
Oh, it's better, a lot better. I can say this about Miramichi. It's the prettiest course I've ever thrown a club on. But my golf game is a lot better. I'm a lot more sedate.
Well, you gotten older and more mellow.
Yeah, I mean, I do hit the ball better, but I'm still probably one of the world's greatest rescue players because I spend all my time in trouble, and so I tell people, I get nervous when I tee off. I hit it down the middle because the second shot, I'm not used to having a clear second shot. I'm usually being behind somebody's barbecue pit in the backyard.
So you're always in trouble on a golf course. It seems like LSU finds a way to find trouble in a lot of ways. I mean, 3 stories this week. Obviously, the Wright and Harris news and Lane Kiffin's commentary yesterday. Here comes Will Wade signing a guy who's had multiple NBA contracts in R.J. Lewis, and then you've got. This is a crazy story I haven't even mentioned, but the basketball team had a Ukrainian 6'5" center who left the team because coach signed a 6'5" Russian center, and that offended the Ukrainian. It's wild what you guys find.
Yeah, the Ukrainian, the Ukrainian girl, this is women's basketball. The Ukrainian girl, I think her father was in the Ukrainian army or whatever.
Right.
And, when Kim signed the Russian, she basically said, I'm not going to basically, base my recruiting on,
2 countries at war.
Yeah. So this girl decided to leave, but she understood. And
well, you know what? I looked at the numbers. The Ukrainian center averaged like 8.5 points and not very many rebounds. I'm betting that this Russian center, same size, is a lot better.
Mm-hmm.
Is a lot better.
I'm guessing she is. Yeah. But as far as the football, Lane Kiffin has taken the approach that he always takes. It's my job to get the best possible players, and I'm going to do that until they tell me it's not legal to get them. Morally, it may not be correct, but from his standpoint, until they tell me it's illegal to get these players, I'm gonna get them, and that's basically. I say this for all the people who are always banging on Kiffin. Don't tell me about rules because there are no rules. just like, you go get you and you go get you a good lawyer and a friendly judge, just like Ole Miss did with Trinidad Chambliss, and which is what Will Wade did with getting his guy from St. John's eligible.
Yeah,
RJ Louise. Yeah,
who was Big East Player of the Year, by the way.
Yeah, and so LSU is doing what everybody else is doing. They're getting. I mean, if somebody, says this, against the rules or the rules against it, they'll just going to get a judge and a lawyer and a judge, see what happens. But most of them, until somebody says this is absolutely against the rules, you can't do this, blah blah, he's going to go get the players he can, and as you said, if somebody else doesn't do this, I want to do this, somebody else is going to do it.
Well, let me ask you this: do you think some of this has to do with the fact that Lane is a magnet for publicity, positive or negative? Texas took Cole Hudson 2 weeks ago, who apparently was a pro coming back. Nobody said a word. Lane's doing it with two guys, and it's a different story. The RJ Lewis thing, I don't know. I mean, he signed multiple contracts with NBA teams. Coming back, but I don't think he was drafted either. I don't know if that's the distinction, but here's what I wonder. The Big Ten is going to bar this kind of philosophy. They're not going to let anybody who decided to go pro and entered the league, was on a team, they're not going to allow him back. If the SEC does that, what is Lane going to do? Is he going to cease and desist? Does that mean that Wright and Harris won't play? What happens to R.J. Lewis and Will Wade, who's only got 4 guys on his roster at this point? What do you think eventually is going to happen?
He's got more than 4, believe me.
Okay.
That's a good question, And like I said, do you just go get a lawyer and lawyer up against your league?
Well, you know what? That didn't work out for, as Steve Earhart pointed out, with the Sorsby issue when the Big 12 said he couldn't play. Texas Tech was going to lawyer up, and then they changed their mind going up against their league. You think LSU would really do that against Sankey in the SEC?
They might. I mean, the Sorsby thing was a little. I mean, to me, maybe the gambling thing was a bit much.
Mm-hmm. I agree they're slightly different, but it's still the same legal ramification of suing your league.
It'll be interesting, and probably, probably in the end, LSU, I would think, would try to play by the rules of the day. I mean, if they don't. But the SEC hasn't passed a rule like that. They met over the weekend. The presidents met yesterday and talked about how, they discourage this kind of, whatever it is, discourage. And the LSU's like, well, so you discourage it. That's not a rule.
Right.
So, I mean, give us a rule.
Well, if the Big Ten passes it, if the Big Ten passes it and the ACC follows suit, do you think the SEC will hold out and go, well, we can get everybody then?
Yeah, that's a good question. But all LSU coaches are like, until you give me a definitive rule, and then we'll go from there. I mean, it's like when I talked to Will probably about 3 or 4 weeks ago. He goes, listen, they have nobody has outlawed European players. I mean, because everybody's taking European players. So why should I be any different?
Memphis has with a 24-year-old named Popovich.
Yeah, like why should I be any different? I mean, that's why like you said, usually Bill doesn't get surprised by anything, right? Reaction to him, he knows he's a magnet for that. He understands that. He goes, I couldn't understand the backlash over me, all the European guys. I couldn't understand it because he goes. I look around the SEC right now. There's probably 24 guys who are NBA guys. Basically saying Europeans or whatever or should be the NBA. I look around. I see all that, and then I wonder why that everybody's surprised by this. And so, the Kiffin thing. I just find it hilarious that the federal government got involved and created the Lane Kiffin rule, which is outrageously stupid. Like, they're going to punish a team because their coach is going to leave before the end of the season. And it's a rule made by politicians who don't understand the athletic calendar.
Wait. In what way was he punished last year? Because he couldn't coach the team
No,
he
wasn't
left?
punished. He wasn't punished. This something athletic act was created by Congress is trying to pass or get passed. They have what they call the Lane Kiffin rule, where a school will be punished in some form or way if their coach leaves before the end of a season.
Well, to me, that makes a lot of sense. I mean,
it makes no sense to me.
Well, a player can't leave. Player can't leave. Why should a coach be able to leave? I have no problem with the guy leaving after the season is over.
But because no school, I mean, every coach in them. This hasn't happened with Kiffin. This has happened for years. Why should he be the guy? I mean, he left because. Okay, he offered to coach Ole Miss. Okay, LSU was going to allow him to coach Ole Miss. They were willing to go to the very end with Lane Kiffin. They said, you coach that team as long as it's in the playoffs. We're okay with that. Ole Miss is the one that said we don't want you.
Well, I wouldn't want the guy that was leaving me personally.
But that's fine. But don't sit there and get angry for him. Look.
But wait a second. Wait. For the continuity of the sport, what's wrong with the rule? If everybody is obligated to the rule, you can't touch a guy until after the championship game. What's wrong with that rule?
What's wrong with the rule? Okay, one, there's the early signing period. That's one.
Change that rule.
There's a transfer period. Okay.
Change that, Kellen. You can make it all work.
They've already changed that rule once. Okay. And first of all, you can't change the transfer rule till after the championship game, because the championship game is so late. Schools already started at most places, so that doesn't work. It's the schedule of recruiting and transfer portal that's screwed up. Okay, and so all this stuff doesn't time out. There's no way it times out. That's the problem.
So you think a player should do the same thing? Should be allowed to do the same thing?
They do the same thing. There are guys who have transferred before the playoff games that don't want to be there schooling longer. They transferred. Yeah, I mean, and I'm sure they've talked to coaches about transfer before going to the playoff games. And how about Ole Miss's the guy that was Ole Miss's starting quarterback? Okay, now he stayed with him all the way to the playoff. He transferred the day after the playoff. You don't think he was, out the door? I mean, my whole thing is this: coaches can't afford to do that because they've got to be recruiting. They've got to be building their next team. They just do.
I don't think you should be allowed in season to poach a coach away. I just don't. I think you got to figure out a better system.
There's not a better system. That's the problem. There's not a better system, and there'll never be a better system.
We're gonna agree to disagree on this one, my friend, but that's the beauty of sports. And we'll debate again next week. How's that?
All right. Good deal.
Thank you, my friend.
All right, see you.
That is our guy, Ron Higgins, our SEC historian, down in Baton Rouge where everything is happening. That is some crazy stuff for sure. Always crazy, New York City. That's where we're going next. Our friend Chuck Melkent, the head tennis professional at LA Country Club, very posh place where they actually held a U.S. Open a few years ago in golf. He's there for the Open. We're going to check in on what's going on in tennis in just a minute.
Broadcasting from the Family Leisure Studio, we are Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
So you need to sell your house? I have the solution. Call 901-406-1101. That's 901-406-1101. Call my buddy Bill at I Buy Houses. Any house, any area, as is. It's literally as simple as that. Just pick up your phone. Call 901-406-1101. That's 901-406-1101. Call my buddy Bill at I Buy Houses. Guaranteed to close in 5 days. If you need to sell your house fast, call Bill at 901-406-1101. That's Bill at I Buy Houses.
You know that feeling when something is supposed to be complicated and then it's not? That's the Dobbs Brothers way. For your new Chevrolet, there's no games, no runaround, no surprises. Just straight answers from people who actually mean them. Buying a car shouldn't feel like a battle. And at Dobbs Brothers Chevrolet, it doesn't. Trust, transparency, and driving our community forward. That's the Dobbs Brothers way. Shop Dobbs Brothers Chevrolet of Bartlett today. Together, let's drive.
With Progressive's Name Your Price tool, you can choose the best coverage option for you. Because you know you. Like, you know you can't cook. You're not one of those people who say that they can, but when people come over for dinner, they find out the hard way, you can't. You can't even microwave popcorn, and that's literally just one button. Plus, measuring and patience are huge parts of cooking, and that's just not you. Only you know you. So get coverage options within your budget with Progressive's Name Your Price tool. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law.
Now back to Wolo and Friends on Sports 56. Here once again is the voice of the Tigers, Dave Woloshin.
Hey, make some man, take things over. Hey, let's him loose, hard to swallow. Hey, put you there where things are hard.
We're heading to New York in a minute. Chuck Melkett. Brought to you by Ken Garland. Ken Garland Custom Home Builders. Ken knows it's a big deal. You're building the dream home. Maybe you're remodeling the home that you had forever. I call it renovation with innovation, because you want that island in the kitchen, the California closets. You want the video room with the speakers in the wall. I don't blame you, but you don't want to leave that location you've lived in for years. No sweat. Ken renovation with innovation. Ken's been doing it for 40 years now. That's how good he is. I double check here what we trying to get our friend Chuck Melkent here. Having a hard time getting him. Not sure exactly why, but we'll continue to try. In the meantime, didn't mean I was passing along that number to Gary Newsom, who's back, by the way. In the meantime, if you want that renovation with innovation or you want that dream home, it's really quite simple. You call Ken. 40 years, 3 generations, seeing little detail, all of the general big picture too, all at once. That's what's critical if you're going to have a job well done. And the job's never done, as he likes to say. You work with him forever. That's the way it works with Ken Garland, Custom Home Builders. So, there's some interesting things happening at the U.S. Open in New York City as we continue to endeavor and try to get our friend Chuck Melkent here. First off, Carlos Alcaraz is returning. First time this year. Wouldn't you know, Alcaraz returns and Sinner is out. He's got a knee injury. So the big tennis rivalry that we've been looking forward to for all the next few years didn't take place at all this year. That's sad, but Alcaraz is coming back. Federer's got an exhibition. Alcaraz is actually going to play with Serena Williams in mixed doubles. That happens this week. And we do finally get Chuck Melkent on. Chuck, good to see you. What's going on? I know you're there for a big clinic. They got $108 million in prize money. I hope all the players are happy with the quality here. Give me your sense of what's going on in the Big Apple. Good morning.
Good morning from New York City. Great vibe here in New York. It's great to be back here. This is Fan Week this week. So I'm here for the Fan Week, and basically I'm here for the Coaches Open 2026. This is the first year we've done this Coaches Conference, and it is the first week of the Fan Week, which is the tournament actually starts on Sunday. But that's why I'm here. I'm here to, and then again for the mixed doubles final tomorrow night, which 16 teams are competing, which they're doing before the tournament starts. And this is the second year we've done that, where they get all the big names in there. Like Novak, he's actually playing, and then Serena's playing with Alcaraz.
Isn't Djokovic is playing with Arena Sabalenka? I think so. Isn't Joker playing with Sabalenka?
Yeah, Sabalenka, they're partners. They're the number one seed. And
you got Carlos and Serena. Where are they seated? They're going to be down in the order. I don't think Alcaraz ever plays doubles, does he?
No. Well, just back in the tournament, so he's been out for like 4 months with a right wrist injury. But no, Novak and Sabalenka are the number one seeds, and they are playing right now. They won the first set. They're only doing like 4 games in this early rounds of the mixed doubles. So they're down 3-2 in the second. So, they're playing right now on Ash.
And you got Federer with an exhibition coming up later. I think is it against Andy Roddick?
Yeah, he's playing Andy Roddick. It'll be like 6 o'clock Memphis time. They're playing one set. And then after that, he'll team up with John McEnroe against Roddick and Andre Agassi.
That'll be fun. Those guys are all in pretty good shape, aren't they?
Yeah, this is kind of interesting because this is kind of Roger's first time to actually play a set, probably, since he's kind of like retired and stuff. He said, well, since he retired, he's probably played before that, but he hasn't played in so long. So I think he was actually pretty nervous going into this. And so it's going to be interesting against Andy Roddick, who was our last American in a Grand Slam.
Isn't that crazy? So give me your sense of where American tennis is right now. You got Shelton, who's the boyfriend of Rodman, the great soccer player, the daughter of Dennis Rodman. You've got Taylor Fritz, who I think that he won the last Memphis tennis tournament at the Racket Club, if I recall correctly.
Yeah, that was like his first title. He kind of launched his career in Memphis, at the Racket Club. And he was young back then. He's 10th in the world right now. It's interesting with American tennis. It's not like a lack of players at the moment. It's just no one's kind of taken the step to actually kind of be able to win a slam. I mean, it could eventually happen, but basically what I look at. Americans.
Do me a favor. You were saying basically when I look, and we lost you. So give me your sense again of where you were going with that.
With American tennis?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's one of the reasons we're here at this coaches conference is to try to develop players. This is 1 year ago the USTA started this USTA coaching department, but like I say, I look at the top 20, and we've got 5 male top 20 players and 4 in the women. Now, Shelton's 9, and then Fritz is 10, and Coco's like 4th in the women, and Pagula is. And it's just like I say, it's not like we lack players. It's just we just don't have anybody who can take it up to the next level to the top 5.
What do you got to do to get there? We're used to having top 5 players, or at least we did 25, 30 years ago. It's hard to believe Roddick is the last guy to win a major. I mean, that's 15 years ago, isn't it?
2003. What is that?
That's 23 years ago.
Like 23 years ago, right?
How does the sport fall off for 23 years? That's got to be a fault of the UTSA and development.
Well, that's like I say. That's why I'm here this week. That's why they're doing this conference. They're trying to get. There's over 500 coaches and people in the game. They're just trying to revamp the coaching and get back to the grassroots of these players and try to develop the great athletes to try to get a champion. So the USTA is putting this on, who actually is the one that puts on the U.S. Open, and they're just trying to do it and build talent.
I hope they do. We have a tennis tournament here, which you need to come back for. It's in July. It's hot as the dickens, but they're making great strides. I think we saw a 16-year-old Russian upset everybody and win in her WTA debut. I was amazed, Chuck. There's only 7 women's pro-level tournaments in America, and that includes the U.S. Open. It's why? Because there used to be so many more high profile pro tournaments in America that are no longer in existence.
It's kind of sad. It's just kind of like tapped off of, I don't know if it's budgeting money or sponsorship. Yeah, it's kind of sad. I heard the Memphis event was great. Everybody said that who went told me they kind of reminded them going back to the Racket Club of Memphis.
Yeah.
It just kind of got that same feel and kind of had the good. It was kind of good to see everybody back out there. And it's great that this 16-year-old won, the Russian. And, you know, she's 125 ranked. It was her first title. She beat 3 top 100 players at that event. And so she should be in the U.S. Open because the draw is 128.
Wow. So she actually will make the field without having to go through qualifying then.
Yeah, she should be right in. Yeah. So
wow.
she's in good.
We'll be keeping our eye on her for sure. That's a great story. I guess Sabalenka is the favorite, right? Coco Gauff is in there. Pegula's in there. Who else are you looking at?
Amisimrova and I couldn't give you really one that I was. Women's tennis is kind of interesting. You'll get somebody you'll play. They'll get different winners. It's like in the men, it's pretty much Zverev and Sinner and Alcaraz. But in the women, it just kind of juggles around. Now, the draw's not.
Lost you again.
Job.
No. Sinner and Alcaraz, that's really sad. Alcaraz has been out all year with a wrist injury.
I lost you on that.
Yeah. I was saying you mentioned Sinner and Alcaraz. And Alcaraz has been out all year, and so these guys haven't faced each other. They're the new face of tennis, right? I mean, with no consistency at the top, Sabalenka, I think, should be the best women's player, but she hasn't been able to pull that off. I think Gauff is on her way to becoming that, but she's not there yet. But then here you have these two guys. They're the new Federer, Djokovic, Murray trio, right? I mean, it's just two, but it's Sinner and Alcaraz, and they won't have faced each other all year because of the Alcaraz wrist. He comes back, and now Sinner's out with the knee.
Yeah, that's right. The big three are like, Sinner's number 1. Zverev is number 2, Sasha, Alexander Zverev, who won the French Open this year, finally got a slam. And then Alcaraz is back after life. He's been out like 4 months with this
I would not put Alexander Zverev in the same sphere as Sinner and Alcaraz. And I do want to point out that Alcaraz in the head-to-head with Sinner owns Sinner. But he didn't play, so Sinner became number 1.
Yeah.
I was really looking forward to them playing. What about Shelton? Is he a guy that has the abilities, do you think, with another year or so to become a major player in all this?
Well, yeah, he won Montreal, which a few weeks back, and I call him Sleeveless Shelly. He's always, you kind of know him because of the sleeveless shirt, but he's he's a good ball player. I mean, he's 9th right now. He's the top American over, right above Fritz. And then Tiafoe is number 12. But he seems to be good. He's got a great serve. He moves well. He likes to attack the net. And but just to try to get in that top 5, you got the Joker still there, number 5. Yeah. So he's still hanging in there.
Without Sinner, and, maybe Alcaraz is, a little out of shape. And this is the last thing, does Joker have a chance to get 25? If he does, he'd become the greatest tennis player past Margaret Court for major wins. At 25, does he get it?
I don't know. I think it's going to be tough. And, because he's got to go through 2 of those guys. Now, with the tournament, with Sinner out, it's funny how we lose Sinner, but we get Alcaraz.
Yeah.
It's like we get one and lose one. It's a better chance because it's tough for him to beat 2 of those guys in the semis and the finals to take a slam. So he's done well, in Australia and all those tournaments where he got pretty close.
He gets to the quarters and semis. Yeah, he just can't get to the promised land. Chuck Melcan, as always, we appreciate it. We'll talk to you again sometime soon. I appreciate it. Enjoy New York City.
Oh, great. Great to be back on talking to you, Dave. Have a great one.
You too. Chuck Melcan from New York City. That'll do it for us. We're already late. Johnny Radio's right around the corner. He's coming your way. We'll see you tomorrow. We get the big show with Philip P. Dank and our final golf picks. Don't miss that. Have a great day, everyone.